I'll go ahead and ask the city administration to make its report at this time. Mr. Black, Ms. Welver, wonderful to see you, of course.
Mr. President, members of council, this presentation is a twofold presentation dealing with the Boulevard as well as Main Street Station from an economic development standpoint. We've been working on both for the better part of a year in terms of getting it to this point, which we view as being phase one of what will be a multi-phased effort here. I'm going to provide some introductory comments, then Carthan Currin, the Director of Economic Development for the city, will provide a brief overview on both initiatives. Then Pete Larkin with Starback/Jones Lang LaSalle will come up and talk about the RFQ and the RFP process, which has culminated in the awarding of the master developer contract to Highwoods. Carthan Currin will come back and talk a little bit more about Main Street Station and that RFP process. And then we'll have Paul Kreckman of Highwoods Properties, who will basically unveil some conceptual visions with respect to both locations and talk about a lot of the next steps that will need to take place. And then I will come up and wrap it up. First of all, we thank you for the opportunity to speak to you as well as to the citizens of Richmond today. I know this process has been a long one, and you and many others are eager to hear about the proposals that will be outlined and explained today. I think it is important to remember as we go through this presentation that this marks the completion of the first phase. I want to emphasize that. This is a vision of where the city can go. It is a chance to build two enormous economic engines that will help power our city to better things. It is a vision of what is possible with careful planning, an engaged and informed public, and local ownership and participation. It is a shared vision to make the city better and deliver on our potential. And most importantly, this has been a vision born not of rushed speculation, but careful and deliberative procedure and process. As you know, the city initiated the procurement process for the Boulevard at the first of the year. We hired the Starback Company to assist us in the various real estate development issues after receiving the bids to confirm best use potential. The Boulevard was identified as a site that had the greatest value to the city and would have the most positive impact to the surrounding community. Starback, Jones Lang LaSalle met with various stakeholders in and around the Boulevard to understand the biggest issues, concerns, desires for the site. The city went through a thorough request for qualifications process whereby Starback contacted and issued over 100 requests for qualifications to the entire development community nationwide. From that process, the city received 6 responses from the development community. Interviews of each respondent were conducted, and each respondent then issued a request for proposal whereby they were asked to detail their development plan and financial offer. The city received 3 responses at this point. Of those, 2 finalists were identified. The Highwoods team presented a clear economic package for the city. The offer included a detailed description of upfront funds the city would receive upon transferring the site, as well as guarantees for construction, commencement, demolition, schedules for construction, etc. The Highwoods proposal detailed exactly what the developer expected from the city and precisely what the development team was committing to accomplish. The Highwoods proposal detailed Highwoods as the master developer for the project and sub-developer of all office buildings. Highwoods proposal does not have Highwoods executing retail, residential, or hotel development, although they would still serve as the master developer. As such, we thought it would be a great opportunity for the city to engage the Robert Bob Development Group, who's teamed up with Armada Hoffler as the developer of these project components. We will work with the Highwoods team to oversee the melding of these 2 teams and report to the city regarding the progress and success of these negotiations. This was an attempt to develop a win-win strategy for the overall project. Award letters have been issued to Highwoods for both the Boulevard and Main Street station sites. The award letters call for a 120-day period whereby the city, through Starback, will negotiate a deal with the Highwoods team for both sites. From here, we will outline the details of how this process has been designed and be happy to answer your initial questions at the end of the presentation. In that there has been great speculation with respect to baseball, I would like to make it clear what this administration's role has been. We agreed, along with our regional counterparts, that we would defer all matters pertaining to baseball to the RMA, and as such, the RMA has taken the lead with respect to matters pertaining to the Diamond and will play an integral role in any future activities associated with building a new stadium, if that continues to be the wishes of city government and the public. We are not involved in negotiations that have and will continue to take place with respect to local ownership interests in acquiring a team. However, we will be involved at the appropriate point where discussions begin to develop and evolve with respect to a new baseball facility. And as we know in that this is the first phase in the process, there will be more time as we move to the next phases for more questions and answers, as well as community input. At this time, I'll ask our Economic Development Director, Carthan Currin, to come and present the next portion of the presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Currin.
Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of council. I'm happy and delighted to announce that the city is awarding 2 development opportunities, which in light of today's economic conditions represents a reaffirmation of the economic vitality of Richmond. These 2 properties currently are underperforming and represent a great potential for the city. It's also important to note that the bulk of the selected development team is comprised of local Richmonders, our neighbors, with proven relationships, extensive experience, and significant accomplishments under their belts. The slide before you shows the location of both opportunities within the city. This slide is an aerial of the Boulevard site. The site is bound by Hermitage Road to the east, Interstates 95 and 64 to the north, the Boulevard to the west, and train tracks to the south. The site is predominantly owned by the city of Richmond. Let's discuss some of the opportunities of the Boulevard site. It represents the largest contiguous undeveloped property in the city. It represents high visibility from Interstates 95 and 64 and direct access to the interstate system. It represents major links to districts and neighborhoods south of the James, the Bird Park, the Fan, the Museum District, Monument Avenue, and North Side. Strength of immediate market and demographics are represented on this site. The next slide refers to the challenges. The challenges of relocating existing facilities and operations, which would include the Diamond, the Arthur Ashe Center, VCU Sports Backer Stadium, and the city operations and maintenance facilities. Now, at this time, Mr. President, I would like to ask Mr. Larkin to come forward to give council some background on the RFQ process and the RFP process associated with the Boulevard site.
Thank you.